Right Talk Radio, Forward Radio, Mastiff Sports and Shady News Radio. For more information, visit daremediagroup.com.au or mastiff.medias.
That's right. You have me. I am the one. I'm the
You're
only
tuned to the Sportcat show.
That's right. And
I'm all jacked up on Mountain Dew.
yeah. Well, I wish. The
Viva la Sportcat. Sportcat Uberales.
See, I have fans.
Viva la Sportcat.
That's a message that somebody sent in.
Sportcat.
That's right.
Fans everywhere love the Sportcat.
They do. I don't know why. I don't get it. You can send me a message like that. That actually came to me on Sportcat. What the hell is it? SpeakPipe? Speakpipe.com/Sportcat. You can shoot me a message. I also have, and I don't know why I'm probably asking for trouble, the Google text up at 404-492-6095. You can shoot me a text live into the show, and maybe I'll figure out how to show it. But I encourage everybody, we're live on Yerg's Radio, Rainbow Radio, Right Talk Radio, Forward Talk Radio. We're live on a lot of things. And Dare Talk Radio and Radio X in Australia. Come over and join our chat. We got a great chat. Beautiful Denise is here. Wendell, well, Wendell's always here. He sent me a message earlier where I think he made an AI song. So Chris is always here with us. Welcome, Chris. Chris says he has a question on the topic of his meetings. Yeah, we need to time that a little bit better. And I'm considering going, and I'll ask you guys about it. What do you think about 2 to 4 instead of 1 to, what the hell am I, 1 to 3? How about 2 to 4? Would that be better? Because that would not interfere with me at the Thin Line Rock Station, because I do a afternoon music show over there from 2 to 4 Tuesdays and Thursdays. So everybody should come over there and check it out. So, all right. Well, without further ado, let's figure out what the hell we're doing here. You push some more buttons. No, that wasn't the button. One of these days, I'll figure all these buttons out. Until then, yeah, good luck. Why can't I move myself? No, I can't. This thing annoys me. All right, so you'll have to bear with me, ladies and gentlemen. I'm rusty in the seat here, so I'll have to get back acclimated to being in the studio, only to probably go back to Knoxville in another week or two. Currently on the East Coast, it is 13:19. That's 1:19. And we want to say good afternoon to everybody in Chicago. Good morning in Denver and Los Angeles and Phoenix. Anchorage, it's 9:13. Honolulu, it's 7:19 a.m. Toronto, don't know why I care. London, it's 6:19 p.m. But our fans in Perth, we're overnight. It's 1:19 in Perth, 3:19 in Sydney. Adelaide, it's 2:49. Somebody please message me and explain the half-hour difference. I don't get it. And in Lord Howe, it is 3:49 a.m. We are your talk show overnight. Wendell says, it is not AI. Dale Boswell made it and sent it to me. Well, you know what? You need to help me out with that, Wendell, because I need something. I did a AI song for, where the hell was it? I did one for somewhere. I don't know where the hell was it. It turned out pretty good. I don't know where I put it. It's somewhere on here, and I liked it. But it, what was it? It was this one.
Tune into the Sportcat show only on the Thin Line Rock Station.
Yeah.
Join us for live
That's all
discussions.
AI. That's not even a human.
And
That's not even a band.
So grab your favorite drink. Sit
I just
back,
push some
enjoy the
buttons
ride.
and.
The Sportcat show only on the Thin Line Rock Station.
Yeah, that's for obviously
Don't
my
miss it.
radio station. So I made that with AI. I got to figure out how to do more of that. I enjoy AI. Chris says it's 3:49 a.m. Lord, how he loves it. All right, let's move on. We've got the time down pat. I always keep down here on the current time East Coast, and I use universal coordinated time so that if we ever have a question, there's the timestamp. So, all right, let me refresh this because it doesn't automatically do it. It shows us where it's day and night. I wish that if I probably paid, that would go away, but I'm not going to pay. It's day and night. It is currently sunny over South America, and the moon is over Africa, in case you're cured. Speaking of the moon, well, today it is a first quarter moon, illuminated 47%. So the next full moon is what? Later this or next month. So Moon phase is currently, for today, the first quarter phase. The phase occurs roughly 7 days after the new moon. Yeah, we had just had a new moon. I missed it. So exactly half of the moon will be illuminated and half dark. On the day of the first quarter phase, it is high overhead at sunset and visible until midnight when it sets in the west. First quarter phase is a one-day event, so enjoy it today if you can, because, well, there's lots of weather out there. We're going to talk about that. And so, all right, so we don't need all this. Today's moon sign is Capricorn. I have no idea what that means. Somebody tell me. All right, so move on, because I don't know. Today in history, 1571, Caravaggio is born. Italian painter Michelangelo Caravaggio, I did not know that, is born in Milan. He trained as a painter in his home city, then moved to Rome, and quickly made a name for himself as an artist and a troublemaker. After he was involved in a brawl in 1606 that ended the death of a wealthy gangster, he fled to Naples. So that's pretty cool. I didn't know that. While there, he focused on art once more and soon established himself as one of the leading artists of his generation. His famous works include the Judith beheading and something Medusa. He continued to get in trouble, though. He got into more violent clashes. This was before we had guns. Remember that. There was no guns then. With some even saying that his own death in 1610 was actually murder and not a fever, as is widely believed. 1829, Scotland Yard is established. Scotland Yard is the headquarters for the newly established Greater London Metropolitan Police Department. It opened in England with Sir Robert Peel, a British politician, established the police force while serving as Home Secretary. He is known as the father of modern British policing. He is credited with developing the Peelian principles, the ethical requirements that officers must follow. The original 1,000 constables in Scotland Yards were called bobbies. Is it bobbies or boobies? Or peelers, with the former especially remaining in use to this day, while the police force itself become informally known as the Scotland Yard. We need to search up the ethical requirement, because I'm curious as to what that is, because so many officers right now are being labeled names that are horrible and they shouldn't be. And for what it's worth, I am definitely against it. So we need to, let's just do it right now. Peelian principles. See what the heck that means, because I took an oath. It's a set of 9 guidelines for ethical law enforcement established by Sir Robert Peel in 1829. They emphasize the fundamental purpose of the police is to prevent crime and disorder. The authority depends upon public approval and cooperation. Well, there's a key word right there. And they should use physical force only as a last resort. Agreed. And these timeless principles form the foundations for community policing, is still central to modern policing. The basic mission is to prevent crime and disorder. Public approval is essential. We're not going to have that in today's world. That's not going to happen. Public cooperation is vital. Nope, that's not going to happen. Physical force should be used sparingly. Decrease as a necessity in public. Seek public favor through impartial service. Well, we're not abiding by that today. Physical force should be used only when absolutely necessary. Agreed. And the police members are members of public, paid to perform duties that are incumbent upon every citizen. Doesn't mean you need to tell the world who they are and dox them. Police must focus on their executive functions. It sounds like paperwork. The test of police efficiency is the absence of crime and disorder. Well, lots of cities right now where that's not actually happening. Yes, peelers. I had never heard that term. So, Rachel's peelers looked strong last night. Yes, they did. Yes, they did. 1982, the Chicago Tylenol murders begin. Anybody remember that? 5 dead after taking Tylenol capsules filled with cyanide. Over the course of several days, 7 people died after taking Tylenol pills they did not realize were laced with cyanide. A 12-year-old girl named Mary Kellerman died in the suburbs of Chicago after taking an extra-strength Tylenol, becoming the first of 6 people in the area to sooner turn up dead after taking the same medications. Investigators later found cyanide in capsules and determined that someone had placed the poison in bottles after they were put on shelves. No one was ever convicted of the Chicago Tylenol murders, but the incident led to packaging reforms and federal anti-tampering laws that remain in effect to this day. Is that where all those bottles came where you can't open them? 1988, NASA launches its first mission since the Challenger disaster. Space Shuttle Discovery was launched from the Kennedy Space Center in Florida. It is known as the Return to Flight mission. It was the first manned space flight since the Challenger disaster 3 years prior. The Discovery had made 6 previous trips into space between 1984 and 1985, but after the Challenger explosion, NASA overhauled the Discovery to ensure there would not be a repeat of the tragic event, which left all 7 crew members dead. During a 4-day space mission of the Discovery, its crew paid tribute to those lost in the Challenger disaster. And Chris says, I remember that well. We were terrified around here to take Tylenol for years. I was a child and I remember it because growing up, well, as you know, growing up, most of the time, that's what they give kids is Tylenol. And that's probably, I think that's the only thing I ever had. Someone had told my mom, I don't know where this information came to, that I was allergic to aspirin. And so they wouldn't give me aspirin. So I could only take Tylenol. I later found out wasn't the case. I don't know where that information come from. 1990, police find the body of Regina Walters, a victim of a serial killer, Robert Rhodes. Police found the body of a victim at a truck, as known as the truck stop killer, Robert Ben Rhodes. At 14 years old, Walters ran away with her boyfriend and made it to Pasadena before crossing paths with Rose. The nightmare began after the couple accepted a ride from the serial killer. Rhodes promptly kills Walter's boyfriend and imprisoned her in his own traveling torture chamber for months, taking photos of her throughout her imprisonment. He would later kill her and dispose of her body in a barn off of Interstate 70. Well, that's a new thing. I don't know what I'm not going to push it because it's just probably pop-ups. I'm done with pop-ups for the day. Y'all have no idea. On this day, 522, Darius of Persia kills the Magian usurper Golamata, securing... Chris, you're going to make fun of me. Securing his position as king of the Persian Empire. 480, Battle of Salamis. Greek fleet under testicles defeats the Persian fleet. Good God. It's too early for this. 1567, War of Religion breaks out in France as Huguenots try to kidnap King Charles IV. That doesn't sound like it worked out well. First units of the London Metropolitan Police in 1829. We discussed that. 2008, the Dow Jones average falls 777.68 points. It's the largest single-day point loss following bankruptcies of Lehman Brothers and Washington Mutual. Let's see. Chris says, my mom got the idea I was allergic to chocolate for some reason. I had to eat white chocolate, which sucked. I secretly ate regular chocolate and never got sick. It was all bullshit. Yeah, I don't understand. Sometimes these things doctors put out there, and I don't know. 1948, Hamlet, directed by and starring Laurence Olivier, opens at the Park Avenue Cinema. It was the best picture in 1949. 1984, Prince, Let's Go Crazy. I'll play that tomorrow on the radio. Prince and the Revolution, the second single from Purple Rain, peaked at number 1. That was a great album. 1954, New York Giants Willie Mays makes his famous over-the-shoulder catch of Cleveland Indians Vic Wirtz 460-foot drive during Game 1 of the World Series, the Polo Grounds in New York City. New York City. All right, so what is today? Well, today's holidays. It's National Coffee Day. I'm not a fan of coffee, so I'll pass. But if you want to send me money to buy a Mountain Dew, I'll take it. It's National Coffee Day, National Starbucks Day. Hey, I'm sensing a conspiracy here. Starbucks and Coffee Day on the same day? Confucius Day, International Day of Awareness of Food Loss and Waste. And it's Religious Day. It's Michaelmas. You know, I'm going to have to hit this because I have no clue what Michaelmas is. It is celebrated on September 29th every year in honor of the three archangels, Michael, Gabriel, Raphael. On Michaelmas, families spend the day doing good, dancing, singing, and at the end of the day, sharing a feast of freshly baked bread, roast goose stuffed with taters, veggies, and herbs. It's also the season for picking blackberry with friends and family. I did not know that this was a thing. So it's the Feast of the Archangels, Feast of St. Michael's, Gabriel, and Raphael. The Feast of St. Michael's and all the angels is celebrated by the Roman Catholic and Anglican churches and was first observed in Europe. Okay, well, before the end of the day, blackberries have to be picked and eaten because it is believed that on the day St. Michael's drove the devil out of heaven, he landed in a blackberry bush, which he spat on and cursed. These days, Michaelmas is celebrated by attending Mass, feasting with loved ones, dressing up, and doing good. Okay, well, that sounds like a noble thing. I like to dance. It's another story, though, right? All right. Onward we go. Confucius Day, International Day of Awareness of Food Loss and Waste. National Biscotti Day. Do not like that. National Goose Day. I don't think I've ever had a goose. Mrs. Sportcat doesn't like stuff like that. Don't ask me. National Police Remembrance Day. National Silent Movie Day. We all have a favorite silent movie. VFW Day. World Heart Day. All right. And let's see. Yeah. Let's move on to the next one and see what else we got. See what other kind of trouble I can get into. And Urban National Wildlife Refuge Day. I got a story about that here in a bit. National VFW Day, National Coffee Day. Let's look at see who has birthdays and events. Let's skip forward a little bit here so that we get up closer to where my listeners will know. Joseph Bank Rhymes, botanist and parapsychologist, which is the study of paranormal. Interestingly enough, I took classes to be a parapsychologist, and I'm still nutty as shit. Batshit crazy is the diagnosis. Gene Autry, he was born today. Entertainer known as the Singing Cowboy. Okay, I'm just going to detour for a second. You see this thing? This is a bang stick that shoots salt to kill flies. I got to tell you, that thing is underrated. If you want to entertain your family, get one of those. I'm just going to leave it at that. George Jenkins, he was the founder of Publix. My favorite grocery store. Vincent Delmonico, founder of the Napa Valley Wine Train and co-creator of Rice-A-Roni. Hey, I like Rice-A-Roni. Stan Bernstein, author, illustrator, and creator of the children's book series, The Bernstein Bears. All right, so we should have asked him before he died the correct spelling before time shifted. Jerry Lee Lewis, he's considered to be rock and roll's first great wild man. Larry Linville, he was remembered for his role as Major Frank Burns. Everybody loved to hate Frank. Mike Post, composer best known for his television theme music from the A-Team, NYPD Blue, Rockford Files, Quantum Leap, Magnum P.I., Hill Street Blues, Hill Street Blues, love that one, and Law and Order. Andrew Dice Clay, who doesn't like Andrew Dice Clay, a popular 80s stand-up comedian. Adam Segal, a cybersecurity expert. So, Chris says, most important silent movie was the Zapruder, I'm probably pronouncing that wrong, showed us when our country was stolen and how how stupid the average American was. It's funny you say that. I just saw, I think it was a remake of that, and they used a more recent date in 20, I think, would it have been January of 20, where that America was stolen. It was a remake or a play on that, Chris. Memorable events. Well, 1789, the Department of First. Wait a minute. Let me start over here because this is important. The Department of War first establishes a regular army. Department of War. We still have them. 1916, John D. Rockefeller become the first billionaire. Can you imagine being a billionaire and that same amount of money today? Jesus Christ. 1923, the first American track and field championship for women. 1941, Joe Louis TKO's Lou Nova in 6 rounds for the heavyweight boxing title. Oh, in 1982, the sitcom Cheers premiered on NBC. 1994, the House votes to end lobbyists buying meals and entertainment for Congress. Aren't they still buying them shit? Isn't that a thing? Oh, wow. 1996, the Nintendo 64 debuted. 2021, Fish and Wildlife Services declare 23 species of bird, fish, and other wildlife extinct. Wendell, I think Bigfoot was one of them. Let's see here. We haven't found him yet. Poor fella. All right. The Old Farmer's Almanac. I'm going to be a little rusty at this one because it's going to take a few extra pushes of the button for me to figure this one out. Today is the 272nd day of 2025. 83 days until winter begins. Not a fan. And the question of the day, if anyone in the chat wants to try it, we'll reveal the answer. Which area of the United States has the most thunderstorm activity? All right, so upcoming holidays, Michaelmas, which we discussed. And of course, October is fast approaching. Yom Kippur begins October 1st. October 4th is Feast Day of St. Francis of Assisi. All right, so what's anybody got a guess? I'm going to say it's Kansas. Which area of the United States has the most thunderstorm activity? And boom. In the continental United States, that would be Florida. Okay. Whoa, go away. That would be Florida, all right, which is an average of 80 to 90 thunderstorm days per year. The region with the fewest is the Pacific Coast, averaging fewer than 10 a year. All right, well, you learned something today. I was going to go with Kansas, but all right, learned something there. What's the puzzle today? Soon as I'm made, I'm sought with care. For 1 whole year consulted, that time elapsed, I'm thrown aside, neglected, and insulted. What is being described? Any guesses, anyone? What's the the new year baby called? That's it. All right, we'll look at the answer here real quick. Soon as I'm made, I'm sought with care. For 1 whole year consulted, that time elapsed, I'm thrown aside, neglected, and insulted. What is being described? An almanac. Okay, well, it's not the New Year's baby or, hey, fruitcake from your aunt. Let's see. Today is the best to begin logging. Chris, if you got any logging to do, harvest above ground crops, set posts, or pour concrete. All right. Word of the day, sunrise, sunset. Well, that's the visible rising and setting the sun's upper limbs across the unobstructed horizon of an observer whose eyes are 15 feet above ground level. I'm educating y'all today, and you're getting this for free. Let's see here. And they're talking about the fall forecast of leaves. In Georgia here, well, it's going to be pretty decent. Tennessee, it's going to be pretty decent. But throughout the Northeast, up into the Midwest even, it's not going to be as good. But it's going to be cool and dry up in those areas. Where here, we're going to be warm and dry. So, all right, we'll get into the weather a little bit more here in a bit. We talked about today's moon phase was the first quarter. And the full harvest moon will occur on Monday, October 6th of 2025. Chris says, I don't even log off accounts. Fair. Let's see. And, well, I never did like roasted pumpkin seeds. My wife does. Apple cinnamon waffles. Well, my doctor's probably going to tell me I can't have that either. So they're taking everything in life that you enjoy as you get older, they take away. They don't like my Mountain Dew. They don't like my vaping. It's like the only things I have left. All right, so we discussed that today is the 272nd day of 2025 and the 8th day of autumn. And today, Congress established the regular army in 1789. 1916, the New York Times reported that John Rockefeller, the head of Standard Oil, was certainly the world's first billionaire. 1966, the Chevrolet Camaro debuted for sale at U.S. dealerships. I love the Camaro. NASA launches the STS-26, the 26th Space Shuttle mission, the first since the Challenger. And we talked about birthdays. Today's facts. Yeah, I'm just going to skip that because I can't read it. Today in sports, in 1951, NBC broadcast a college football game between Duke and University of Pittsburgh. It was the first live sporting event to be televised nationwide. 1951. Today's quote, virtue is persecuted by the wicked more than it is loved by the good. Today's number, 77.68. It's the points lost by the Dow Jones in 2008. And that's pretty much it. All right, so let's see. What else do we got here? Yeah, we did that one already. What else do we have? Let's see. We got other things hiding down here. So this was breaking as we were coming live. Everybody was freaking out because they said a Secret Service vehicle was bombed. Well, no, that's not actually what happened. And my buddy, Penguin 6, was the one that scooped it. So a fire broke out in the trunk of a Secret Service cruiser, providing security for security. We're going to try this again. A fire broke out in the trunk of a Secret Service cruiser. They were providing security for Benjamin Netanyahu's visit. The fire was quickly extinguished and the fire marshal is investigating. So nobody panic as they were doing, but my buddy, he broke it first. So give him credit. Always give him credit. Yeah, it looks like a Ford. And let's see. You can't really see. They must have got to it pretty quickly. Because, well, I mean, I guess there was stuff burned, but doesn't look like it was like bad enough for everybody to be freaking out the way they did. I mean, they were going nuts on the internet. They was like, oh no, the Secret Service vehicle's burning. What are we gonna do? Put it out. Put it out. All right. And so, in case you don't know it, for all my prepper followers and my world is coming to an end fans, what to know about tomorrow's secret meeting with the top U.S. military officers in Quantico. This has been breaking for 2 days. This has the media. They're just all tore up about this. So I should read War Secretary Pete Hegseth summoning of senior military leaders to Virginia for a Tuesday meeting bewildered military and congressional officials. And then to add more chaos, President Trump, he announced he's going to attend to the Hush Hush event. He announced that this morning. That broke all kinds of news. So the big picture, the gathering at Quantico, it's a Marine base, has little precedent. The president's appearance adds heightened security questions to the already massive event that will bring together the nation's top generals from around the world. Driving the news, Trump billed the event as a very nice meeting talking about how well we're doing militarily in a phone call with NBC News, confirming that he planned to join the hundreds of military leaders at the meeting. War Department and White House have secure ways to communicate across countries and time zones. Axios' Colin Demarest reports that it's unauthorized to have leaders simultaneously depart their stations. The gathering that Trump is framing as sort of a military pep rally came after months of high-profile retirements and removals that wiped away decades of the country's national security experience and a historic rebrand to the Department of War. Hegseth called on leaders stationed around the world to attend the meeting earlier this month without giving any reason, according to the Washington Post. So who will attend? Well, the Post is reporting that the order directed all generals, officers, and commanders from grade 0 through 7, 0 through 10, and general officers, senior enlisted advisors to attend, but did not apply to top officers who hold staff positions. So the classifications from 0 through 7 and 0 through 10 refer to generals and admirals. The summons included commanders in critical regions like the Middle East and the Indo-Pacific. Trump told NBC News, "We have some great people coming in," a group he'll now accompany just days after directing Trump troops to war-ravaged, that's a quote, war-ravaged Portland, Oregon. Not sure who put that in quotes, but Hegseth is set to deliver a speech. So what will be discussed in his address? The Fox host turned war secretary will describe his vision for the future of the military, his goal of restoring the warrior ethos, his standard to attain that fighting spirit, according to multiple outlets. These reports that his address will be brief. Trump doesn't do any short briefings. Trump told NBC the gathering would have a good message, that's a quote, that includes talking about being in great shape, talking about a lot of good, positive things. Yeah, I understand one of the things they're changing is the PT. They're probably going to go back to the old school where you PT'd. The chair force doesn't stand a chance. He continued, "You know the expression esprit de corps. That's all it's about. We're talking about what we're doing and what they're doing and how we're doing." The White House has not immediately responded to Axios to confirm whether or not the president will deliver remarks. If he's going to go there, I'm going to guess he probably will. So, between the lines, since his contentious confirmation, Hegseth has pledged to rebuild what he calls the warrior ethos and vowed to make America lethal again. I'm on board for that. During his tenure, the administration has axed projects and people deemed redundant are old school, Demers reports, and distanced the Pentagon from traditional forums in favor of friendlier channels. Hegseth also helmed the administration's forced ouster of transgender service members and declared diversity, equity, and inclusion incentives to be, quote, dead. By the numbers, on top of the firing of prominent figures like General C.Q. Brown Jr., Hegseth also called for the leadership to cut military's 4-star generals and admirals on active duty by 20%. What have administration officials said about the meeting? Well, Trump praised Hegseth's meeting during a Thursday White House appearance. "Let him be friendly with the generals or admirals from all over the world," the president said. He also questioned, "You act like this is a bad thing. Isn't it nice that people are coming from all over the world to be with us?" Vice President Vance joined in by saying he found it odd that reporters had made it into such a big story. He said it's not particularly unusual that leaders would come for a visit with the secretary. Well, where is it? We've discussed that. It's going to be in Quantico, which is about 30 miles outside of D.C. in Prince William County. It's an educational hub and military installation for Marines and FBI. It houses the Marines Combat Development Command, and it's also home to the FBI Quantico Academy and DEA, Drug Enforcement Agency, training facility. And what to know about it? Well, like I said, it's a base just outside of Washington, D.C. It's in Prince William County, what is considered Northern Virginia. Chris says, "We have nuclear weapons. When were we not lethal?" Yeah, speaking of that, we threatened to use some of them a couple days ago. And I like his quote, "Nobody has ever seen a bigger or more important meeting ever assemble. It's really remarkable and amazing thing." I'm catching up in comments. "Imagine waiting your whole life for college football live on TV and getting stuck with Duke versus Pittsburgh." Exactly. Let's see. All right, we're not worried about that. We have talked about how it's a sudden summoning, and it is a somewhat unique. I don't understand why Quantico was chosen. There has to be a reason Quantico was chosen that they're not telling us. I grew up in Washington, D.C., and Quantico is like 45 minutes. Well, in today's traffic, it's probably 2 hours from Washington, D.C. It's a quick helicopter flight for many of those. And it's a relatively small base. It's there on the banks of the Potomac, I believe. So it's an interesting place. My theory on this is, and I followed this with some other YouTubers, I think the reason that we're calling them is the fluff part for the media. Oh, we're just handshaking and blah, blah, blah. I think somehow our secure comms have been compromised, and this is one of the only ways of meeting with everyone to bring them up to speed on current events and probably how they're fixing the problem. That's just a guess. I have no bones in it. Don't at me, or if you're listening, Pete, don't come get me. So, all right. So this was also breaking as we went live. Trump is threatening to tariff movies 100% if they're made outside of the United States. President also slammed California Governor Gavin Newsom as weak and incompetent. This comes to us from Entertainment Today, Entertainment TV, actually. President Trump is renewing his threat to impose a 100% tariff on films produced outside of the United States. In a Monday morning social media tirade, Trump once again set his sights on Hollywood, attacking California Governor Gavin Newsom and promising big tariffs on movies made overseas. This is his post. Our movies making business have been stolen from the United States of America by other countries, just like stealing candy from babies, he wrote on Truth Social. California, with its weak and incompetent governor, has been particularly hard hit. Therefore, in order to solve this long time, never-ending problem, I will be imposing a 100% tariff on any and all movies that are made outside of the United States. Thank you again for attention to this matter. Make America great again. He's done this before. Just to give you a little insight to Hollywood, not all movies are made in California. In fact, Georgia is one of the largest movie production areas in the country. They have Marvel, they have HBO, which is there's a multitude of people. They have Paramount. So the industry is thriving here in Georgia. But the problem with this tariff is, how is it going to be defined? Because you may make the movie here, but then to send it to editing and stuff, you may send it outside of the country to have it edited and the audio put together. So is that going to mean that that movie, even though it was filmed in the United States, that it is going to have this tariff? And the other thing is, certain movies can't be shown in other countries, for instance, China. But if those filmed outside of the country are shown there, to be brought over here, is that going to be tariffed? There's a lot of questions about this and how it's going to work out. So there's a lot of uncertainties, and hopefully this will get worked out before he goes nuts and does something else. All right. Well, if you were listening to Yerg's radio earlier, you heard about they're going to shut us down. The world's going to end at midnight tomorrow. Yeah. Democrats keep on insisting on negotiating with the threat of a government shutdown. And as I write this comes to us from Hot Air. If you want to go check them out, the headline is a last-ditch attempt to avoid a shutdown. Trump meets with Democrats this afternoon. We'll look at his schedule here in a bit. As I write this, a shutdown is 36 hours away. It's more than that. If nothing changes, or it's less than that now, I'm sorry. If nothing changes, the government will shut down Tuesday night, that's tomorrow night, midnight Eastern, our time. However, the president has agreed to a meeting with Democrats this afternoon as a last-ditch attempt. Democrats and Republican congressional leaders are heading to the White House for a meeting with the president on Monday in an effort to avoid a government shutdown. Both sides have shown hardly any willingness to budge from their entrenched positions. If government funding legislation isn't passed by Congress and signed by the president on Tuesday night, many government offices across the nation will be temporarily closed, and non-exempt federal employees will be furloughed, adding to the strain on workers and the nation's economy. All this happens in advance of the last chance to avoid a shutdown tomorrow, when Senate Republicans will once again bring a clean CR bill passed by the House up for a vote. Democrats argue that Trump's agreement to hold a meeting shows he's feeling the pressure to negotiate. They say that because Republicans control the White House and Congress, Americans will mostly blame them for any government shutdowns. But to hold on to their negotiating leverage, Senate Democrats will likely have to vote against a bill to temporarily extend government funding on Tuesday, just hours before a shutdown, in a comfortable position for a party that has long denounced shutdowns as pointless and destructive. Everything prior to that vote is just Democrats elbowing for position. Their message heading into this is going to be, we tried to negotiate with Trump and he said no. That's the message they want because their voters really only care about opposing Orange Man and probably couldn't name Republicans in the House and Senate who are actually running the process. There you go. That is well said, because because if you're not educated about your senators and congressmen, then you're part of the problem. So Wendell wants to know, so why are 800 generals meeting? Well, Wendell's, I don't think it's the end of the world. Like I said, my belief is, of course, they can't say this publicly, is that the secure comms have somehow been infiltrated or tampered with or somehow damaged. Please don't come get me, Pete. And this meeting is to sit down one-on-one and say, hey, we're opening up new lines of comms that are clean, and these are the ones, maybe to flush out some people. I don't know, but I don't think it's as big a deal as the media is making it out to be. Yes, it's not happened since the Vietnam War, maybe, or Korean War. It's been forever since it happened. May have been before that. May have been at the start of World War I. But at any rate, I don't think it's as big of a deal as the media is playing it to be. Now, we'll see. Is this a security risk for the United States? Yeah. We're going to have all of our top cabinet there. We're going to have all of our top military there. And now the president's going. We'll look at the flight restrictions in a bit. I'm sure they've already opened them up, and you probably can hardly fly up the Virginia coast. So anyhow, if you want to read this whole article, you can go over there. But they're meeting today to see what's going to happen. And one side says it's bad. The other side says it's badder. There you go. So there you go. We talked about this. The chaos of everything's going to be the government dysfunction. They'll shut down tomorrow. So I hate to report this story. I actually contemplated not even covering this, but so many people have been reading and want to know about the Michigan church shooter. It happened over the weekend at a Mormon church. Apparently this deranged criminal drove his pickup into the doors of a Mormon church, opened fire, and then set it on fire. So apparently they are believing that he had a hatred of the Mormon faith. So he's accused of opening fire at the Church of the Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, killing 4, I believe it's up to 5 now, in Grand Blanc, Michigan on Sunday. He hated people of the Mormon faith, according to the White House press secretary. During an interview on Monday, she stated that based on her conversations with FBI Director Kash Patel, all they know right now is this individual hated people of the Mormon faith, and they were trying to understand more about how premeditated it was and how much planning went into it, or whether he left a note. There also was some confusion. Apparently, there were several IEDs. He's been identified as a U.S. Marine veteran. I'm not going to say his name. He had been deployed to Iraq for 7 months. He had no criminal history, and he lived in Burton, Michigan, which is near Grand Blanc. Pickup truck is alleged shooter used, had 2 American flags displayed in its bed, and a photo that was posted on Facebook. The gunman was pictured wearing a Trump 2020 and a shirt that read, "Make liberals cry again." The attacker was carrying explosive devices when he drove his Chevy Silverado into the church building on Sundays. It was unclear if he used them, according to officials. So that they believed he used gas to start the fire that eventually engulfed the entire building. The 40-year-old veteran allegedly opened fire on parishioners, I guess, with a semi-automatic rifle. 2 were killed from gunshot wounds. 2 more were found dead after first responders arrived. Another 8 were wounded. Police responded to the shooting within 30 seconds, pursued the shooter to a parking lot behind the church where they terminated the criminal. So there you go. Apparently, because from a firefighter's point of view, I heard this on the internet too. Why weren't they putting the fire out? Well, first off, there was an active shooting. And of course, we talked about a second ago how they eliminated the threat. But the problem was, we always worry in public safety, first responders, about the secondary attack that usually happens after we arrive. Supposedly, this deranged criminal also had IEDs, so you can't put firefighters or ladder trucks up in a position where there could possibly be a big boom. So, yeah, that's the reason that it burned so severely, pretty much burned to the ground. So, but that is the reason you can't put firefighters and paramedics in danger when there's a known or suspected big boom. So we also had this happen out of Oak Island, North Carolina, a dockside shooting that killed 3, injured 8. 3 people were killed and 8 injured when an alleged U.S. veteran, we're hearing that's 2 now, was claiming he suffered from PTSD and fired into a dockside North Carolina restaurant, killing 3 and leaving 1 other fighting for their life. The suspect, who was named by the Southport Police Department, was arrested and charged 3 counts of first-degree murder, 5 counts of attempted first-degree murder, and 5 counts of assault with a deadly weapon with intent to kill. Additional charges are pending. Authorities said that we believe this was a targeted location. He acted in what we call a lone wolf, so he acted alone. It was highly premeditated from what they are seeing, and they feel that there are no other threats to the community, and an investigation is underway. The suspect was identified as a combat veteran, injured in the line of duty, and he suffered from PTSD. Southport Police Saturday, September 27, 2025 at 9:30 p.m., members of the Southport Police Department were dispatched to cause of shots fired with multiple injuries at the American Fish Company, which is at 150 Yacht Basin Drive, Southport. Interesting, as this was going on, my wife was mentioning to me, didn't we go there? I think we had been there, actually. So just prior to that, a boat with a single occupant was traveling in the Cape Fear River, paused briefly at the American Fish Company and opened fire, wounding 3 patrons, injuring 8 others. The boat then fled the area towards the intercoastal waterways in the direction of Oak Island. Shortly after 10 p.m., the U.S. Coast Guard observed a single individual matching the description of the shooter, loading their boat at the public boat ramp, right where that is, 55th Street in Oak Island. The Coast Guard crew responded and detained the suspect. He reportedly was a formerly known individual who had authored a book titled, quote, Headshot, Betrayal of a Nation. In the comments about the book, he stated the attacks on 9/11 would decide my future for me. I enlisted in the U.S. Marine Corps and deployed for 3 times, the first to Haiti and to Iraq twice. Returning from the war zone severely wounded, my life would never be the same again. That's news. I did not know that he was an author of a book. I hate to hear this happening, but we need better mental health care for our veterans and first responders. I will argue that. In fact, if you follow my Wednesday night show, I'm going to have a what's the right name? Guest on that is going to be talking about his battles with PTSD. So, and Chris says one of the police officers involved who took the shooter out was a DNR police officer. See, when calls go out like that, a lot of people think, oh, it's just the local police. No, it goes out on what we call an all call. and you're going to get people from neighboring jurisdictions, state, sometimes federal, depending on what part of the world you're in, or country. In fact, if you remember last year, there was an incident that occurred at a New York facility, and one of the very first responders was a police officer. He was wounded and killed by other responding officers because he was not wearing a uniform and he had a weapon. So that was bad too. All right, this comes to us from WTOP, but it's made the news. WIVK, a couple places. Dolly Parton postpones Las Vegas concerts due to health challenges. CNN's reporting that she will be lighting up the Las Vegas Strip December. She won't be lighting up the Las Vegas Strip this December after revealing to fans that she has some health challenges. They're forcing her to postpone her residency in the city. The 79-year-old country music icon said in a statement posted on social media, she was told by doctors she has to undergo, quote, a few procedures. She did not elaborate further. Given this, I'm not going to be able to rehearse and put together a show that I want you to see and a show that you deserve to see. Parton was set to perform 6 shows at the Coliseum Central Caesar Palace, December 14th to 13th, in her Las Vegas residency in more than 30 years. In her first Las Vegas residency in more than 30 years. They've been postponed until September 2026. Despite her health issues, she has not lost her sense of humor, joking that she told doctors, it must be time for my 100,000-mile checkup, although it's not the usual trip to see my plastic surgeon. She also noted that she doesn't have any plans to retire, telling fans, while I'll still be able to work on all of my projects here in Nashville, I just need a little time to get the show ready. And as they say, and don't worry about me quitting the business because God hasn't said anything about stopping yet. We remember that she lost her husband of 60 years in July, and that she had been suffering from depression from that. She was also seen in Knoxville recently, but she's home. Her home is in Sevierville, which is just east of Knoxville. All right, I'm going to be honest with you. This headline broke. I have no idea who in the hell Bad Bunny is. But his anti-ICE comments have resurfaced as he's apparently going to be the Super Bowl halftime show. All right. Bad Bunny has been announced as the performer of the Super Bowl halftime show in California in February. But not everybody is pleased with the news, and many are pointing to how contradictory comments about ICE while calling out the Puerto Rico rapper in the NFL. Earlier this month, Bad Bunny shared why he chose not to include any stops in the United States during his upcoming tour that begins in November. The 31-year-old was asked by ID magazine if his decision had anything to do with deportations of illegals in the U.S., which is when he shared his thoughts on ICE. This is a quote from him, not me, don't at me. Man, honestly, yes, he replied. There are many reasons why I didn't show up in the U.S., and none of them were out of hate. I performed there many times. All the shows have been successful. All of them have been magnificent. I've enjoyed connecting with Latinos who have been living in the U.S. But there was the issue of fucking ICE could be outside my concert. It's something that we were talking about and very concerned about, he continued. His opinion seems to have shifted after the NFL called him to do the halftime show. Shortly before it was announced, as he was announced as the halftime performer on Sundays, he jumped on X to post a sarcastic note about doing, quote, just one date in the United States. I've been thinking about it these days, and after discussing it with my team, I think I'll do just one date in the United States. Bad Bunny, whose real name is Benito Antonio Martinez Asio, sent a clear-cut message during the halftime show. What I'm feeling goes beyond myself, he said. It's for those who came before me and ran countless thousands of yards so I could come in and score a touchdown. This is for my people, my culture, and our history. His anti-ICE comments, coupled with his I'm doing this for my people statement, aren't exactly sitting well with everyone. And, of course, Benny Johnson had to jump on there and make comments. The NFL announced it. And there were some memes about that. I'm just gonna. You can go search him out if you're interested. I'm gonna have to listen to this meme. I don't even know who he is, but yeah, apparently he's doing the halftime of the Super Bowl. Chris says Dolly also has significant peelers. Didn't she do? Maybe it was just a halftime show for the Dallas Cowboys, where she about fell off the stage dressed as a Dallas Cowgirl cheerleader. This one comes to us from Raw Story. You can look it up at rawdog.com. No, rawstory.com. The generals claim Trump scrambled after learning about comical Hegseth plan, had no idea. A retired U.S. Army general questioned the motivation for the War Secretary Pete Hegseth. These magazines don't want to call him by the proper title, ordering military commanders from their posts to come to Virginia. The Pentagon chief is calling hundreds of senior military leaders to the Marine base for a pep talk, according to the author. Look, this will be very respectful audience tomorrow. He said, our political culture in this country says there's two civilians, only the president and the Secretary of War, who give orders to the armed forces. I think Secretary Hegseth had no idea what he was doing, calling a no-notice meeting without specifying what the topic would be. I think he did not want to harangue the senior enlisted and military leaders the country about warrior culture. It's a hard one to pull off. These people, as you say, grew up in 20 years of combat from lieutenant to E1 to end their career. They're now serving, and I think the president had no idea what was going on, learned of it, horns in. This ought to be a very unusual, almost comical session. Why did he draw attention to this as if we were going to go to war over what? Greenland or something. So it's a real mess. This is according to the retired general. And Hegseth should not expect a rousing reception from military brass. A lot of civilians don't understand. A military audience doesn't applaud or take enthusiastic recognition of speech by a senior officer. I have a feeling they're going to pass word. It had better look like that on TV on this one. Look, this is all such an unusual situation. The day American people make a final determination on elected president, the military completely 100% switches over to being respectful and supportive under the laws of the new administration. By the way, they all come in nervous about these generals with all the ribbons and are going to pay attention to us. Normally, in about 3 to 6 months, they realize none of these people actually know what they're doing, and they're going to be compliant with our policy directives. The administration has been chaotic since Secretary Hegseth actually has a combat infantry badge, served in Iraq and Afghanistan, and is a Princeton grad. There's every indication that could have been very successful, but so far it looks shallow, sort of chaotic, and it's a drama that is going on. Well, there you go. That's one general's opinion. This is going to be an interesting day tomorrow. Our show tomorrow may take some sidelines just to follow live stuff that's going on there because it has potential to be chaotic. Chaotic is a different word for it. Chris says, I'm not worried about any potential criminal activity around my shows. It's just those damn law enforcement people. Exactly. Who thinks anyone who got called to a meeting by Joe Biden had any idea what the fuck he was going to spill out of his mouth? I agree. All right. Man, we're running a little over here today. 29% of Americans think birds intentionally poop on their cars and the cleanup costs might back them. It starts as a tiny white splatter you notice on the hood, then another appears on the mirror. By the time you're loading groceries, the roof looks like it hosted a seagull convention. You sigh knowing a car wash is now mandatory. If you're unlucky and went days before seeing the gifts, the acidic mess might already be eating into your paint. Oh man, it's going to make me paranoid now. Most drivers know the story all too well, and some are convinced it's no accident. At least that's how nearly a third of American drivers feel about birds. A new survey finds that about 29% of people believe the birds are intentionally targeting their car with droppings. The evidence, at least from the cleanup bills, might support this theory. All right. An American carport manufacturer might have just validated more than a quarter of drivers' feelings about bird crap. According to its survey results, more than half, 58%, said their vehicles had been hit more than once in the same day. Nearly a quarter spend over $500 each year on car washes and paint repairs because of bird mess. That money isn't going. That money isn't just going towards making a car look presentable. Bird droppings are acidic enough to etch into clear coat and paint if left too long, sometimes just a few hours. Once that happens, a simple rinse no longer cuts it. Detailing, repainting, or even panel refinishing can follow. That's why Tesla and BMW drivers whose cars have more expensive finishes are among the most likely to spend hundreds on cleanup each year. Drivers of Ram, Jeep, and Chevrolet reported the most splatters, and darker paint jobs, especially brown, red, and black, were the most likely to attract it. The annoyance pushes people to exchange habits too. 29% of the drivers say they switch parking spot to avoid, quote, poop zones. 38% admitted they'd walk just a block to avoid a messy perch. About 1 in 5 said they'd shell out $50 a month for a carport or garage additions to keep their car safe. It's not so crazy investment when the alternative of years is recurring cleanup costs. Science does explain some of the bird behavior. Birds perched on trees or wires are simply, quote, doing what they do. Shiny paint or reflective mirrors can trigger territorial responses, but knowing that doesn't make the bill any easier to swallow. With 11% of the drivers reporting actual paint damage from the poo-poo, it's clear what starts as, these are words I just didn't think I'd ever talk about on my show. What starts as a small splat can become a surprisingly expensive problem. So there you go. The birds are targeting them. Hopefully they won't target the general's vehicles while they're in Quantico. I don't know if anybody else caught this last night on 60 Minutes. If you were trying to watch CBS's Big Brother, you probably did. Dana White, you know him as the UFC chief, he went on a crazy gambling swing, gambling incredible amounts of money. At one point in time, he was down $500,000 or more. And he goes on a 1.9 million baccarat swing in just minutes. The man responsible for building UFC empire appeared on 60 Minutes Sunday. It was filmed going on a wild swing while playing baccarat. Well, how wild are we talking? Well, he was down 1.2 million and cashed out 10 million 10 minutes later, up 700,000 after playing up to a $400,000. I can't play a $4 hand. He's playing a $400,000 hand. That's a nice $1.9 million swing. Yeah, that was crazy. He's like, yeah, I'm down. Should I stay? Nah, I'll hang out a while. Good Lord. Let's see. This is a rescue of a dog. A member of Chicago's police department Marine units came to the rescue of a dog stranded in a Chicago River drain pipe. The Marine unit was patrolling the river at the time, responded to the location. We're out searching for a missing dog at the time of the incident. Saw on a community safety app about the Marine unit was engaged in a rescue for a canine matching his paint's description. And speaking of crazy canines, I apparently got a feline in here. Look at that. They're bringing him in. Ah, isn't that nice? So he met up with the Marine unit at the scene and was brought aboard their boat. And a diver was set out to retrieve him, but the rescue dog was nervous. And after a few minutes of coaxing her, well, she swam out to safety with the diver helping her out. There you go. Nice police public safety story. So this one comes to us from Motor Biscuit, and it's talking about hold on a minute. I got to do something here before I lose control of the situation. This one is about a military discussion by divers that they were told to forget that it occurred. Oh, don't go there. Go over here. Historians may tell you that a NATO fleet has never declared DEFCON 1, but author Chris Stiles claims he has evidence a 19-ship fleet went into full panic mode in October of 1960. Hold on, I got to send a message. There we go. All right. Historians may tell you that a NATO fleet has never declared DEFCON 1, but author Chris Stiles claims he has evidence a 19-ship fleet went into full panic mode in October 1960. He writes that 4 separate veterans say the fleet discovered multiple UFO-type flying saucers hiding underwater. Investigative journalist Chris Stiles first noticed something odd in the logbook of a NATO mine-laying practice mission in October of 1960. 10 U.S. Navy ships and 9 Royal Canadian Navy ships set out on a massive training exercise. The lead ships practiced laying fake mines in the ocean. The sweeper ships followed behind to practice scanning and cleaning. By October 12th, the NATO fleet was sailing off the coast of Shelburne, Nova Scotia. Then, quote, all hell broke loose. According to the logbook of the commanding ship, the HMCS Cape Scott, the fleet went on an unprecedented DEFCON 1 alert while sweeping for mines. The fleet had discovered something else underwater, something moving. It had deployed RCN clearance divers to investigate. The divers had returned with an unbelievable report. Stiles later interviewed 3 of the divers and 1 Royal Canadian Air Force crash debris specialist. There was no doubt what we were dealing with off of Shelburne. There were UFOs sitting on the seabed. They were occupied and there was still activity. One was trying to help the other, which was damaged. They ordered us to the surface and ordered us to forget what we'd seen. Then alarms sounded upon the command ship and panic broke out. Technically, the witnesses were describing unidentified submerged objects, or USOs. One intriguing aspect of the 1960s encounter is that it would be years later before alien-shaped spaceships, flying saucers, would become a widespread cultural icon that they are today. So the divers may have been less influenced by pop culture than modern divers. So was it an alien spacecraft or a scary encounter with a Soviet submarine? Stiles said he interviewed an Air Force veteran who listened to the divers discussing the flying saucers lying on the ocean floor beneath the ship every night for the rest of the mission. But after the mission, a U.S. Navy officer insisted the object wasn't an alien spaceship. The divers, he said, had mistaken a Soviet submarine for something else. While NATO hasn't declassified records, such as the materials recovered from this object or the film footage divers captured, USO sightings continued in the now infamous 1967 Shag Harbor incident. Eyewitnesses claimed to watch UFOs crash into the ocean just 25 miles off of Shelburne. In 2004, In 2004, U.S. Navy pilot Commander David Fravers and Lieutenant Commander Alex Deach witnessed and videotaped a tic-tac-shaped UFO crossing from the ocean into the air off the coast of San Diego. The Pentagon has since established the All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office. Oh, that's a government acronym. AARO to investigate. They've even testified before Congress. These sightings across decades, but the sort of high-resolution footage captured during the, quote, tic-tac incident hasn't been possible until recently, perhaps using the latest information to reevaluate incidents such as Shelburne and Shag Harbor. We hope will help us discover whether eyewitnesses were looking at a Soviet submarine or something else entirely. So basically, they told them, just forget about it. You didn't see anything. Nothing to see here. Just move on. Let's see. And Chris says 800 bird generals are being assembled to meet and discuss whose cars are to be shat upon. So if you follow sports, ESPN's Paul Feinblum is considering leaving ESPN to pursue a U.S. Senate seat as a Republican. So, and if you want to read that, you can go over to ESPN and check it out. They've got the full scoop over there. And college football fans can't get enough of Pudge the Cat. Who the hell is Pudge the Cat? Well, I asked myself that before bringing this article up. So every time a new college football season starts, fans are excited for the return of their favorite team. Beyond what is accomplished on the field, any team finds new ways to keep its fans engaged in its quest for glory. The Bowling Green Falcons know how to change the game in order to improve their image. The team has an internet frenzy about the introduction of Pudge the Cat. This is new to me. So who owns Pudge the Cat? Here's what we know at the person who takes care of the internet's favorite football feline. According to ESPN, Bowling Green starting long snapper George Carlson is Pudge the Cat's owner. The young player had no idea his exotic short hair feline would become an internet sensation thanks to its unique look. Pudge is now a staple of Bowling Green's online presentation. Every week before a game, the team shares images or videos on social media. Pudge's popularity goes beyond the idea the Falcons came up with. During the team's game at the University of Louisville Cardinals, the Cat received his own locker room. What? The improvised space includes treats, a comfortable bed, and everything Pudge might require during the visit. This is why the internet is fantastic. Love me some Pudge. I didn't even know who the hell Pudge was. He apparently has a security team. Pudge the Cat. There you go. Who knew? Tennessee has a squirrel, don't they? Every team, I think, has something. So there you go. Pudge the... Who the hell? God didn't... I don't know. All right, so I woke up this morning after doing a long night of Big Brother, and I missed the football game, wondering, what the hell happened? Why did the Cowboys tie the Packers? Well, the Dallas Cowboys are no stranger to dramatic football, but few outcomes leave fans scratching their heads like a game that ends without a winner. Agreed. Football thrives on rivalries, momentum shifts, and big finishes, but every so often the scoreboard doesn't budge as time runs out. That's exactly what happened when the Cowboys and Packers clashed in a game that ended in a rare 40-40 tie. Many viewers were left asking the same question. Why did the Cowboys game end in a tie? And how could neither team claim the win after such an explosive showdown? Well, it comes down to the NFL's rules. Under the current NFL rules, both teams are guaranteed one possession unless the first results in a touchdown or defensive score. If neither side pulls ahead after the initial drive, plays continue a sudden death, but only until the 10-minute overtime clock expires. That's what happened when the Cowboys-Packers matchup, both offenses moving the ball but failing to break the deadlock. The game had fireworks throughout, with Prescott and Jordan Love trading touchdowns in a back and forth that showcased each team's offensive firepower. By the time regulation ended, the score was knotted at 40 apiece. Overtime gave both teams chances, but stalled drives, defensive stops, and clock management, yeah, I gotta know how that is, meant neither could land the final blow. NFL ties are rare, but are not heard of since overtime was shortened from 15 to 10 minutes in 2017. The chances of having a tie have crept upward. However, according to the Dallas Cowboys, this is the first since 1969. Fox Sports reports the Cowboys-Packer matchup was the second highest scoring game in NFL history, trailing only a 43 game the Raiders and Patriots in 64. For a tie, still goes on the record, and it matters down the stretch when they start doing seeding. So there you go. This is going to be something we talk about for years. And there was an Indianapolis player we're going to talk about for years because he dropped the ball before crossing the finish line. All right, I won't go over. We've got some other stuff to cover, but I will only highlight this. A viral video of a delivery driver escaping ICE has left some people impressed. You can check it out online. It's a really short clip on social media. You see that they were trying to stop a driver, and, well, he was on his bike, and, well, he kind of slipped away quickly. So ICE is out in full force in Chicago, and a lot of people are arguing that this is illegal. How far, my question to you is, how far is Chicago from the border? Answer that and you'll know the riddle. Chris says all ticket, stadium concessions, and merchandise revenue should be returned in the case of a tie. Exactly. Give me my beer back. Pentagon, well, 200 Oregon National Guardsmen have been federalized to go assist in Portland. So there's that. Once again, answer me this. How far is Portland from the border? Now, this one is a little bit more perplexing, but is welcomed by the governor. Federal reinforcements are arriving in Memphis this week. That's right. The Tennessee National Guard is going to be in Memphis, helping out with the police cracking down on crime in Memphis. 13 other federal agencies are as well coming in. So 300 state troopers will also be coming to Memphis. So Memphis is about to have a cleanup. This headline broke earlier. Apparently, we're going to allow Ukraine to strike Russia with long-range missiles. It's been approved by the president, but has not been approved by the Secretary of War or our commanders yet. And Russia has already responded very unkindly to that. We also discover that sea life thrives on sunken ships and discarded bombs. Pictured there is shipwrecks on the Potomac River in Maryland, where you can see nature is thriving. So apparently the barnacles and vegetation and sea life loves to thrive in those areas. I actually went out as a photographer for a Washington magazine or newspaper into the bay off of Mobile for Operation Reef X. I got many pictures of where they were pushing tanks off of an aircraft carrier. It's kind of cool. And as I was just bitching earlier, this story broke today. I'm not going to share it with Mrs. Sportcat because it'll just cost me a headache. But apparently, they're going to take vaping away from me as well. I take cigarettes. Now they're going to take vaping. Only thing I have left is hot sauce. That's it. They're taking everything away from me. And as you get older, that's what they do. They just say, yeah, you can't have that. All right. So finally, I was waiting on this. FEMA is updating because when we came online, FEMA had not updated their daily brief yet. Maybe all the chaos of the president deciding to go to Quantico delayed it. All right, so this comes to us from the FEMA National Watch Center, the daily operations briefing for Monday, September 29th. Where did my clock go? Why is my clock disappearing? It's supposed to stay on top. Always on top. Stay on top. There you go. This comes to us Monday, September 29th at 8:30 a.m. New significant incidents, well, tropical storms Imelda in the southeast and mid-Atlantic. Well, we're going to talk about that. They're monitoring rain thunderstorms in the Pacific Northwest to the southeast. Tropical activity, well, we got Humberto and Imelda, and there's another one down there, and there's 3 in the Pacific. So that was the most recent photos of Humberto and Imelda. This morning, we see that they were well off of the coast of Puerto Rico and of Florida, and they are anticipated to scoot up the Atlantic seaboard and out to sea in the most recent one. And let's see. Hold on, let me catch up on comments here. And he probably dumps lots of potential evidence in the river. Yeah, that's probably true. And Denise says, my bestie had a fire yesterday. Everything is gone. They say the dryer went on fire. Couldn't that happen? Actually, that is very, very possible. What happens is there's 2 things that happen. One, the dryer sheets. People don't realize that is extremely flammable. In fact, many people who like to light fires use them in, well, maybe alcohol. I don't know. I'm not an investigator. Maybe. But what happens is a lot of times the dryers will either overheat because they're not able to get proper airflow. And if they have dryer sheets, it can catch the dryer sheets inside the dryer on fire. That's a highly probable, but the most likely chance is that the dryer duct where it goes to the outside was improperly cleaned. That dust that builds up our lint from our clothes as it goes out to the outside, if that pipe or tube housing isn't cleaned regularly, dryer overheats because it's not getting enough air, well, boom, it'll start a fire. It's a very common thing. Dryer fires are common I mean, I couldn't tell you how many I've went on, and it's because of improper cleaning of the dryer vents. That's one. Or the dryer simply overheated. It could be because it wasn't getting enough air because of the vent, or there was too many in especially the older ones. A lot of people will reuse them over and over until they don't have any oil left in them. Well, that's drying them out even further. The oil is to hamper them from catching a blaze. So as they dry out, if you feel your dryer sheet has no oil in it, don't let it touch a spark, because poof, it'll be gone. So yeah, dryer fires are very common for that. I should actually have a show on that in October, where it's Fire Prevention Month, where we talk about things like that, because yeah, that's a very common fire. People don't clean their dryer vents, and it can cause problems. All right, so the tropical storm Imelda, well, she's just going to be a pain in the butt, but she's going to go out to sea, and maybe Thursday our friends in Bermuda may see some tropical storm activity from it, but she's going to turn and make a hard right and get out of here. This history is going to be made with this, because the two hurricanes at one point in time were formed to meet, but now it appears that the one hurricane, the larger one, which was Humberto, is actually going to be pulling Imelda out to sea. And once it pulls it out to sea, it's going to cause it to turn again. So hopefully neither of them will bother us. I'm sorry for our friends in Bermuda, but Florida, you could see some tropical force winds in water, but rain, but it's not going to be that big. Humberto, well, it's also turning hard right and getting out of here. I got a picture. Did I download that? I got a picture somewhere. Let's see if I can find it real quick. That the Georgia State Police published it. I can't find it. I think I brought it up here. And did I not? Maybe I didn't. All right. It was the Georgia State Police Department posted a picture of one of their police cruisers on the coast of Savannah. It says, "We were running radar and the storm took a hard right and left." It was a really cute meme that Georgia State Patrol made up. Apparently, I don't have it. So as we're going to discuss, they're going to make their way out to sea, and they're not going to really be bothering us. But a lot of people who always question what the federal or what the responders do. Get over here. It's not what I want. I've been reporting for several days, if you follow the Sportcat Daily Gazette channel on YouTube, that teams from Vermont and Georgia and all places had been already forming to go up to the coast. And this doesn't have that. All right. I was hoping this would have that. So, yes, clean your lint traps, all of you. It's for everybody. So, yeah, they had already been positioning people off of the coast to go in case of the storm actually making any landfall. The Carolinas may still see some heavy rain, maybe even down as far as Savannah, but it doesn't appear that it's going to be that big of a deal. But Virginia's on normal operations at the EOC. Georgia, well, we've partially activated. South Carolina's declared a full state of emergency. They've got people coming in from outside the state. I remember Vermont was one of the first to step up with their team going down. North Carolina has declared a state of emergency as well. So there's a lot of team. I know Virginia Task Force 1 was deployed down towards Norfolk, but they're probably going to be pulling back. So there was some flooding. If we've missed this, having not talked, but there was some flooding in Arizona. There was videos of it actually on YouTube. There's 2 confirmed fatalities. They say it may be more. And there's 1 still missing. So national weather forecast. We'll get into this a little bit more in a minute and update it some. Let's see. Current FEMA operating 16 field offices, 58 disasters, 7 emergency declarations. We're still working to repopulate 10 missions, 7 supported disasters, and 6 joint offices. And they moved people, see Vermont, they've moved them down into Maryland and Virginia. Virginia's moved further south. And then they've brought in teams from, I believe, Tennessee and Alabama towards the coastline. So they've already started moving people just in case. A lot of people don't realize that our task forces and emergency services were on the move 2 days ago. Oh, actually 3 now. Let's see. We're done pretty much with that. Let's take a look here. Currently, I'm going to refresh this because well, we've learned it's changed. The president's official daily schedule. All right, 8:43 a.m. What are you doing? I don't want get off of my screen. It's a pop-up. I hate pop-ups. 8:43 a.m. Carolyn Levitt was out at the Sticks. And I think I've showed this to you before, but the Sticks is the walk-up area, the driveway to basically the portico or the Oval Office. You just have to see it on a map. But anyhow, they go out there and frequently just have a meet the press. So that was at 8:43. 9 a.m., the press was actually called to be there. I'm going to guess Carolyn was probably walking into the office and she got sidetracked and gave a impromptu press conference. 10:15, the president signs an executive order. I do not know what that executive order was. Let's see. 11 a.m., the president greets the prime minister, the state of Israel. That's been one of the reasons they put up all the fences in D.C. and heightened security. 11:35, the president participates in a bilateral meeting with the prime minister of the state of Israel. At noon, have no idea what the hell that is and where's it coming from. Where is it coming from? Okay, where is that coming from? Oh, nope, nope. Well, I'm glad that Echo is invading my show to do that. I have no idea where that came from if you heard that. Jesus. All right, let's get back to this. I have no idea where that came from. I literally have no idea where it popped up. All right. Did you all hear that? A commercial for Echo. It was nice of them to interrupt my show and have a commercial. Noon, the president participated in a meeting and lunch with the prime minister of Israel. 1:15, press conference with the prime minister of the state of Israel. That's been changed to 2:26 local, which is, well, probably occurring now. And then the president meets with tonight bipartisan leadership. I'm sorry, this evening, bipartisan leadership. So, and then at 5:30, he's participating in a Gold Star family reception. All right. I don't know why that came up. I really don't. Unless it was from this screen. If so, I will discontinue that. Let me update this. Let's see. The presser they're having right about now says Trump says Israel has full backing of the U.S. to take steps to defeat Hamas if it doesn't accept proposed peace deal. Yeah, go away. And Trump says Netanyahu has agreed to join his plans. And let's see. We apparently are going to do more coal mining. I'm just going to highlight this since this has all changed on the fly with him showing up, even though he was planned to be there. They changed all the times. And of course, we know there's many protesters outside. That's why we talked about them having the fence. ISIS, the man killed in the Dallas shooting last week, was from El Salvador. Okay. Oh, that was from the shooting outside the ICE facility. The man was from El Salvador. That's a shame. He came here for freedom and he got arrested for wanting his freedom, and then he was murdered unnecessarily. Let's see. Apparently they've adjourned the House, but they're still available on the phone. At 11:30 a.m., Secretary Netanyahu came there. And let's see. Jeffries said at 10:48 the Democrats are ready, willing, and able to negotiate before the shutdown. That's good news. Of course, we talked about the tariff that he wants to enact on Hollywood, on movie industry. And furniture. Apparently furnitures are a big deal. Israel, Hamas, they want them to get into a ceasefire. That's good. And I don't know what the comments from the Arizona state representative were, but apparently they were not good. Go away. Holding government funding, longest parents. Okay. Whatever. I've read over the weekend that there were some very negative comments out after the incident in Michigan. All right, so let's get on to the daily briefing of weather. something that's not quite as depressing. Wow, we're going to be running over today. The forecast map, well, if you're on the East Coast, anywhere from Pennsylvania, Delaware, all the way down to the Keys, back around into the Gulf, over into Mississippi, you can anticipate some rain. If you're on the eastern seaboard, you're probably going to see more of it than the other areas of the country. And we see up here in Colorado, California, Nevada, Oregon, and Washington, that purple there, that's snow. There's potential for some rain coming in off the Pacific, blanketing much of the west, going over towards Wyoming, Utah, and the higher elevations in those areas, including Colorado. You could see some of that nasty white stuff. It's going to continue in Colorado tomorrow. That storm is going to be moving up the coast and continue to bring rain along the coast tomorrow, up into Virginia, along the Chesapeake Bay region, which ironically enough is where all the important people are going to be. And on Wednesday, well, it looks like both are out to sea, and as usual, Florida and the Gulf Coast can anticipate some rains, but there's heavier snow up in Washington, Idaho, and Oregon. So winter is coming. It's already anticipated up there. The chances of a tornado, very slim, but it will not be ruled out along the North Carolina coast because of the high winds from the incoming storm. As you can see, that's the place that's only got the highest winds, and there's other chances of hail are near zero. So the chances of the tornadic activity are lessened, but you can anticipate along the coastline with that storm some high winds, and one could spin off. The expected precipitation, well, we see in Washington and Oregon, they're anticipating that storm to come in and have in excess of almost 3 inches of rain. The higher elevations, it could be that nasty snow. Down here along the coastline, we look around Oak Island, they could get almost 2 inches. Down to Myrtle Beach, an inch with that storm moving in. Coming down here off of Jacksonville, they can anticipate maybe an inch of rain. And that's all because of the storm that's out in the Atlantic right now. We'll take a look at it real quick here, somewhere maybe. And we talked about the Weather Prediction Center. And most of this all along the seaboard is because of the hurricanes, snow in the west. It's not giving me anything further. All right. And from the National Hurricane Center, we see Imelda positioned right there off of the coast. Let's see, how far is it off of the coast? It doesn't tell us. Oh, can we go there? Here we go. Maybe. Well, that's kind of what I wanted, but I really would prefer. That's the winds. It's the potential rip current. Rip currents are going to be the biggest concern today, from pretty much the Chesapeake Bay down through the Keys. There's a high chance of rip currents today. So if you're out in those areas, please avoid going there. I can't make that bigger. Why can't I make that bigger? Oh, it's annoying me. All right, so we look at the winds. The winds aren't going to affect the East Coast very much, but right around the North Carolina area where it juts out there, ironically enough, Oak Island, you could see some high winds. Be aware if you're out. I know I have some listeners from Oak Island. Let's take a look real quick at what the Atlantic is showing, and we see, well, she's churning out there and causing that rain to move inland. And like I said, the brunt of it's going to be around the Oak Island, North Carolina area. And Humberto is expected to continue to merge and move to the right and move out of the way of us. And then I saw this pop up earlier today. Well, this is in the Gulf of America, and they're talking about this little spinning area down here. That could possibly become something important we need to keep an eye on. So if you're in the Gulf, keep an eye on that. In other words, I'm not going to get my beach trip this year. It sucks. Just sucks. Now, Mrs. Sportcat doesn't want to go on the beach anyhow. All right, so we'll look real quick. We'll spit out to the big blue, round, beautiful globe. And we see if we zoom in, right there is the hurricane and Humberto right behind it. And they're expected to continue to skirt the coast, moving up and going out to sea later this week, headed towards Bermuda and out into the Atlantic. Hopefully they won't merge and make a bigger storm. It's always a potential. Rainfall potentials, we were talking about off of this. Anywhere up to heavy along the see, this is actually south of Myrtle Beach, or south of Oak Island into Myrtle Beach. It looks like it's going to get the heaviest rain. They've changed this since earlier. And then off of the coast, looks like maybe down around Daytona Beach, skirting all the way up the Georgia coast, Brunswick, Savannah, some moderate to heavy rain. So there you go. Can I do? No, I can't. I want to save it. And I didn't mean to zoom in that much. This is just showing us on the graphic where Umberto right now is 145 mile an hour winds, category 4. It's going to move to the northwest before it takes a hard turn and goes out to sea, where it will also intersect with the other one, Imelda. Imelda is just a tropical storm, and she's only forecast to come a small hurricane, like that's anything, but as a level 1 before she runs into trouble with Humberto. And that's where the big question mark will be. But the cone of uncertainty has them all moving out to sea. So there you go, if you believe that. But the heaviest rains, they're now predicting to be along the South Carolina coast down into, I'm sorry, not the South Carolina, the North Carolina down into Georgia. But it looks like Oak Island may get spared there from the heaviest part. It may only be light. Charleston, South Carolina, Myrtle Beach may get the heaviest rains. But I am not a meteorologist. I'm just reading some stuff. Let's see. Chris, let me catch up here. Wendell wants to know, do I have a clothesline? I don't at my house, but I do in Tennessee. And I wish I was important enough to have a schedule where I knew every minute where I was going to be. Yeah, agreed. Let's see. Hold on, Chris. I'll pull that up. And thank you. I got it. And he is signing something important that we might see. And he's going to send me a clip of his favorite misspeak on the weather forecast. Said there was no rip currents, very incorrectly. All right, hold on. We'll pull it up. I ain't scared to. And let me check, by the way. I don't think I got any text from anybody. I was hoping to get some messages. All right, where did Chris send that over here? Here we go. And let's see what it is here.
Easterly winds will be very strong, too, and that will cause coastal flooding, very dangerous rip currents, as well as very high surf. We could see wave. Easterly winds will be very strong, too, and that will cause coastal flooding, very dangerous rip currents, as well as very high surf. We could see wave.
Everybody, be cautious of your rip cunts.
Be united in calling for Hamas to accept
apparently that's the press conference going on right now. And
proposal. So
I'm not really interested in carrying that.
Get us back our hostages right now. And
our hostages should have been freed. Okay, so enough of that silliness. Chris, I love that. Everybody, be cautious of your rip cunts. Once you get older, Chris, you may want a rip cunt. You never know. All right. Oh, Chris, this is a map I found not long ago, and I really like because it shows all of the warnings, weather warnings around the country. And as we can see, the rip cunts are high, coming in from Boston down through to the Keys. If you're out in Cuba, too, there could be some rip cunts. And certainly around Hamilton, Bermuda, there could be some as well. So the code of uncertainty there. We look over here in Phoenix. All this is fire warnings and drought warnings. So be careful if you're out in those areas expecting the drier air coming in, not heavier air. Be careful of that heavier air. And let's see, droughts out there. Is this going to be air quality alerts? And that's in Spokane. We see rip currents actually off of the West Coast as well. So there you go. Yeah, I don't know what the hell that is. That is a fire. But I like this because you can see this. This comes to us from, where's this? Meta Blue mapping. You can see all the local warnings, not just local, but all the worldwide warnings, weather warnings. They don't talk about any other war stuff. I mean, obviously, if you get into that area, you'll see it. But you look down here in Egypt, and they're experiencing a heat wave. So there you go. Let's look down in Australia because I've really been quiet today on Australia. And, well, it's showing fire, but no active warnings. Where is that? That is northwest of Broom Halls Creek. Apparently there are some fires. All right. And we see high winds, strong wind for the coastal waters on the Northwest Cape. All right. So there's that. And then we drop down here and we see, well, they canceled that wind warning off of the Cape down around Albany. And what is this here? A drought and a wind warning for strong winds in the coastal waters between Elliston and Cape Canaveral. Is that Cape Canaveral? Cape Cernat. Cape Canaveral's Florida. It'd be a hell of a wind to go from Australia to Florida. Please don't rely on me for any weather advice. Please, because apparently I don't have a clue what I'm doing. Cape Canaveral. There was a typhoon up in the Middle East that was causing some severe damage and some deaths from the typhoon that come inland into Tokyo. Oh, I'm sorry, into Vietnam and Asia. So I'm just going to stop. We're going to stop talking about weather because apparently I'm just going to fuck it all up. Didn't I tell you all that this was going to be one of those days? I'm coming back in. I'm still getting a little bit trying to figure out what the hell I'm doing. I don't know what the hell I'm doing. So there you go. We'll look at the current temperatures in the United States. Let's see. Currently, well, it looks like New Orleans is the highest at 88. 87 in Memphis. Those are the highest recorded or highest temperatures. Washington, well, it's currently about 76. Your high is going to be 77. Cloudy skies. Jump up to Boston. You can anticipate it being a low of 59. Cloudy with a high of 76. We jump down here to the Carolina coast and we see, well, they're going to experience some rain, but it's going to be in the high 70s, low 80s. Jump down to Charleston. Heavy rains, a high of 75. Our friends down in Key West, well, what is it down in Key West? Let's see. Well, currently it's 84. That's your high for today. Sunny for the next few days. I want to go back to Key West. Let's see. We have the storms here moving up into the east. Bermuda, well, Bermuda's in the path, and there's some possibility of some severe weather for our listeners in Bermuda. So be paying attention in Bermuda to the hurricane conditions. Let's jump down to Australia. And, well, I just screwed up everything. What the hell did I just do? 64 currently in Cairns. I had this written down once before. Your high is 85 today, 85 degrees and sunny. Darwin, well, you're looking at a high of about 91. Whew, it's going to be a hot one for you. Port Hedland, you could anticipate high of 90 today. Learn to talk. 90 degrees today. Why is it people listen to me again? I'm still trying to figure this out myself. I don't know. Perth, high of 84 degrees in sunny skies. You're going to get some rain, though, by the weekend, so enjoy it now. The weekend's going to be soggy. Sydney, you can anticipate a high of 74, sunny, clear skies, and a little cloudy coming in on Thursday, but there you go. I just screwed that all the hell up. All right, let's look at the current warnings in the United States. We see the most significant warnings are along the coastline for the rip currents and flood advisories. Those go from pretty much, well, from Maine all the way down to Key West. So those rip currents are in effect. If you're at the beach, please be careful. You should know if you go to the beach. If you frequently go to the beach, you should know how to. You can't escape. You can avoid a rip current, and you should know what to do if you get caught in one. So if you go to the beach, be weather aware. We'll go to our friends at weatherwarn.com. And what do we have? A test message from Montgomery County. And Chris says, we listen because you have the stones to play ridiculous rip current videos to soothe my immaturity. I'm with you. I love my Australian listeners. I appreciate every one of them, but I question my sanity daily and as to why the hell they want to listen to me. But hey, I appreciate you. I love you. Special weather statement in Colorado. Well, what do you bet it's going to be? The snow. Doppler radar. Nope, it's a throng. It's a throng storm. Maybe I should drink before I go on the air. Maybe that was my dad's success story. He drank before he went on the air. I don't know. Small craft advisories, marine warnings, wind advisories out on the West Coast, Klamath County in Oregon, and Saskatchewan in California, high winds. So the winds are going to be high. We have high beach surf advisories in Virginia Beach. Actually, it's in Virginia and Maryland, North Carolina. Multiple small craft advisories and gale warnings, all those. New Mexico, you have a flood warning from a excessive rainfall possible today in central New Mexico. So we talked about Arizona having the floods there recently. All right, so let's scan through real quick, and I don't see any life-threatening ones because we're running out of time here. The coastal flood warnings, yeah, that's going to be a problem. Let's look at where the lightning is right now. The actual storms, let's look at where they are right now. That will give us a better idea of what the hell we're talking about. So we see that, Denver, you do have that strong cell out by you that is producing some electrical activity. No, I don't. What? Go away. When did this start? When did that become a thing? Now it's going to play some stupid commercial. I'm just going to talk to myself. Albuquerque, you have a pretty decent storm west of Metro Albuquerque out there. Keep an eye on that. That's going to be moving to the east. And we jump over here to the East Coast, and we see there's really not much electrical activity associated with this storm. There's some slight activity down in Wilmington. Myrtle Beach, maybe. I wouldn't be in the beach right now if I was you on Myrtle Beach. Bermuda, you're about to get some stormy conditions and electrical activity. Cuba, Mexico, those areas are all getting from the thunderstorms from the hurricane or tropical storm. It's not a hurricane yet, down off of the Atlantic coast. And let's jump down to our friends in Australia. Oh, there's a pretty good sized storm right there in Australia. Well, I say that and I don't know where the hell it is. It's around Goiter's Lagoon. All right, there you go. So there's a strong cell in Goiter's Lagoon, just north of Adelaide. I'm sure somebody will at me and tell me I pronounced it wrong. That's where the most intense storm for you in Australia is currently at the moment. Chris says only dinosaurs should risk being on the shores near hurricanes. You know what, Chris? Just for fun, I should pull that up. I really should. There's probably nothing going on down there, though. All right, the heat risk for today in the U.S. Well, Illinois is right up there by you, Chris. Is going to be where it's code orange. Indiana, Illinois, Chicago, down almost to St. Louis. It's code orange. Moderate heat today, so be prepared if you are in the Dakotas as well. Code orange. And of course, Florida is always a code orange for heat today. So summer's not quite over yet to those areas. So there is a cool down coming, but it's not quite upon us yet. So pushed on. Hey, you were supposed to come on and join me some there, Brenda. But you never wake up in time. All right, so let me update this real quick to make sure it's accurate, that there's no tsunami warnings, watches, or threats. Still spinning, which tells me the government doesn't have a clue what they're doing. So no, there isn't one. Denise says, Glenn, I'm so glad you're still doing this live. Thank you. Thank you, Denise. It's a struggle some days. I'll be quite honest. It's a struggle. All right, so there's no tsunami warnings, advisory, watches, or threats currently. And let's bring this up to date here and bring up the most recent. I'm going to update this to make sure that we have the most recent in the last 24 hours earthquakes. Make the screen bigger, so we'll zoom out. And we see Australia, you haven't had any ground shaking. We go over here to the United States in the last 24 hours. Only shaking's been Brenda falling out of her bed. So there's not been anything in the United States. So that's good news. All right, I'm skimming through this. Volcanic warnings for Wendell. Well, the Great Sitkins is a code orange for the next 24 hours. And we see in Shishladaden, just at me, Chris. Just go ahead and at me. It's a code yellow. Kilauea is a code orange as well. I just don't understand. I don't know. I have no clue. This is like a radio show out of control. Let's see. Catch up on the chat. I don't know if Brenda wants it, but we'll put it out there. Brenda did her labs today and had to go to the post office and fix her mail. Well, that's important. Thanks for updating us on all your chores. So, Brenda, you are more than welcome to join me anytime you want. Denise says she fell out of bed. The bed collapsed. Denise, well, are you okay? Did you hurt anything? I worry about you. Brenda, not so much. So, all right. So we talked about earthquakes. I want to get away from some of this. Let's go here. This will give us a nice soothing break. If you're watching this on the YouTube, you see our AI globe. It's round, Brenda. And you see all the winds, and we see primarily off of the East Coast. We see the the tropical storm and the hurricane out there is where it's the windiest. Coming out of the Gulf up through the Northeast, it's really not a very windy day. Now, if you're in the Rockies, back over towards the Pacific, you got some coastal wind coming in and wind off of the Rockies. So jump down to Australia and see what it looks like down there. Sorry, guys, I really have just not organized my first day back as I thought I was. So it looks like in Australia, most of your winds will be coming out of the southwest and going to the west. And so it's going to be a pretty windy day on the continent today. So if you want to go out and fly a kite, that's my weather advice for today. I have no idea what I'm doing. We're code yellow, which is minor for space conditions. And I'm learning that this means solar waves and solar winds. And I'm learning more about this to tell us more about this. The aurora, nothing to really in the lower 48 be excited about. Of course, for my listeners in Alaska, you should be, but not for us here. Look at the air quality conditions, and we see West Coast, Seattle, you've got a code red. Much of Oregon and Utah and Idaho is a code yellow. The major cities in California are all code yellow. We go up into, where is it? That's Davenport, Illinois, back over towards Peoria. It's a code orange. Code yellow for much of the central Midwest, Ohio Valley, back over to almost the northeast region of D.C., and of course, down in the Gulf Coast, a code yellow in air quality as well. So if you paid attention, you were studying hard, there's no code yellow along any of this coastline. Why would that be, you ask? Well, it's because it's all being pulled and blown out to sea and not coming ashore. So a good time to be in a clean air day at the beach is a bad day to be in the water for the rip currents. I just make it up as I go, folks. I have no clue. And I know if the management of Radio X is listening, they're like, what in the hell did we get this guy on for? But hey, it is what it is. Looking at wildfires, there's really only one fire east of the Mississippi, and that's down in Florida, the Bluff Creek, 337 acres burning, and it's not under control yet. We see a bunch of these little red dots. These are smaller fires, are reported fires that aren't verified. Right now, currently, most of the fires are up in Idaho and Washington, Oregon, a few down along the Fresno Bay, and of course, back over into the east of Nevada, there's several fires as well that they're keeping an eye on. Canada, you are still burning. I'm sorry to tell you that. But it's funny, if you look on a map, right there, there's this imaginary line where the United States and Canada separate, and boom, United States side, there's no fire. Boom, the Canadian side, there's a fire. Just make this up as I go, folks. I have no idea what the hell that means. The last 24 hours, we look at fire frequency, and we see that Washington is the highest of chances of fire or fire activity. Over in the west, you got Oregon, Washington, Idaho, back over into Montana, down into California slightly. Make this bigger for the viewers at home. Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama. Yeah, it's a moderate fire day up into the south, most of the south, really, from you look at down the Atlantic seaboard, all those winds are causing it to push out the sea. So there's not as high of a fire risk. If you get up into Kentucky, Tennessee, a slight fire risk. And that's within the last 24 hours. And we'll look at the smoke plume. This is what is causing most of the poor air quality for the U.S. It's those Canadians pushing that wind down from all their fires into the Midwest, Great Plains, way down into the heartland of the Deep South, into the Gulf of America. And then it's split over the Rockies. And you see here from the fires on the West Coast where the smoke is pluming, causing the poor air quality there. In Chicago and Illinois, you're just getting the winds from the smoke from the fires in Canada. So let me catch up on comments here. Denise says she's good. The boards under the mattress came out. I bought a metal one for my mom's bed. It's a long story, but I bought a metal, and now she has to have a footstool to get up on it because she still wanted the box spring, and it's a long, complicated story. She's probably gonna break her hip because I had to give her a ladder to get in bed. Not to chalk here. See, Canada may need conditioned education on lint trap management. You're correct, Chris. You were correct. I had a thought there. I forgot what it was. All right, moving onward. So I want to cover some other things. We only got a little bit of time. Denise says she needs a foot. I think it's a thing with these new metal frames because from my era generation up, you're used to having two beds. Well, the new beds, you only have one bed. You have a box spring before, and now you have a box spring and a mattress. And when you get the metal frame to support the massive weight of both of them, you have to get a ladder to get. I don't know. All right. Sorry. I digress. All right. This is our air quality map for the world. I made it flat for Brenda. We see that the fires up in the Midwest is the reasoning for the code yellow and smoke days there. And then we see here through the greater Midwestern area, down through the Deep South, the Ohio Valley, back over, like I said, almost to the District of Columbia, the DMV, all that smoke coming from the fires down in, actually that fires, that's just dust. All right. Well, let's see. Let's zoom out a little bit here. We haven't talked about the dust lately. Well, there is some dust coming off of Africa, but it's nothing like it was. That's why we got the storms. It's probably why Humberto is not going to come visit us because of the dust. Let's hope that's the case. All right, let's move on from this one. Go away. And let's see. We talked about the storms. Let's get into, because we only got, really only got a few minutes left. Let's see. We haven't talked that in a while. We haven't talked about that in a while. But this was what I really wanted to talk about. And yeah, that's fine. Let's make this. This is if you were to look from space and see all of the aircraft up in the sky currently over our head. Well, let's just change this, and boom, we'll get it into military aircraft. And talking about what's going on there in Quantico, well, look at all the planes. They're coming in soon. They're probably coming out of is that LaGuardia? Yeah, they're coming in. They're all coming down here down off the coast. I was also going to talk about, let's zoom out a bit. I don't think we're going to be able to capture it, but there has been a lot of activity. This is just hauling equipment, but there's been a lot of tanker activity going back and forth over the Atlantic between us and Europe, and that is causing some in the conspiracy theory world to say that we're moving assets to prepare for something about to happen. I have no idea if that's true or not, but there you know, you just can look and see. This is all open source information. By the way, I'm not giving out any information to the bad guys that they can't find from open source. So there you go. There's a tanker off of the coastline. So where there's a tanker, you can assume there's at least 30 aircraft of some kind. And I was watching a video earlier, and they could also, of course, refuel helicopters. There was a medical mission where they had to fly 3 military helicopters and a tanker to rescue a person off of rescue an American citizen who was sick off of a container ship out in international waters. It was further out than the Coast Guard could go. So the military went, and it was quite the operation. It was very impressive to watch. So the United Kingdom, well, they just flew over us. That's funny. The United Kingdom, their C-17, well, it come from way up here in Dover, Delaware, flew down, and well, it's headed south. I don't know where it's headed. And let's see. And there's another tanker. What I mean, do we have any P8s? I assume we somewhere probably going to see a P8. No? Nothing? And there's a trainer flight. Well, I've actually learned that these may be, these are showing up as trainer flights, but they could also be one of our new military assets that we have, which is a Beechcraft. And they're using it for homeland things because it can fly longer, lower, and it can also be equipped with weaponry. So it's kind of interesting. It's almost like a little dust cropper if you look at it. So I've learned that some of this could be the Air Force training them. So they pop up. Usually they won't show up as a trainer flight, but they could show up as a drone as well. But yeah, I learned that they're learning to fly them, the new missions from Homeland. So it's kind of interesting. And there's probably a dignitary coming out of DC going further south. And let's see, another trainer flight. Yeah, these are probably, it says it's a T-38. These may be the new ones that are coming in that we're putting in service and we're training. And that's just a Black Hawk out doing some training. All right, so don't see any P-8s along the coastline. Lots of helicopter activity. Training down in the Gulf of Mexico. Nothing unusual there. That you see quite frequently. Okay, there you go. P-8 just popped up on the radar. Looks like it come out of Warner Robins down in Macon, Georgia, and it's headed down towards the Gulf. So we do have a P-8 up. They're going to be doing some training. We know that the P-8s like to look for what? They like to look for submarines. So, and there's a Air Force container or training. It's a big plane. Jesus Christ. I don't see any P-8s off of the West Coast, which is good. Let's jump up to Alaska, see if we see anything up there, because we know that there have been some issues here recently with Russia deciding to test our air radius, where they can't fly. Test our airspace. Good Lord. What the hell am I talking about? I don't even know what the hell I'm talking about. Denise, did you check and see if your friend's fire made it to the New England fire net? So it could have. And let's see here. Chris says, I never dust my house just to keep hurricanes away. You know, I had never thought of it that way, Chris. And she says, look at all those planes. No wonder they are. Well, yeah, that's up to you, Denise. All right. I'm going to bring this up. This is from the FAA. And we see the normal one here for Washington, D.C. They're going to extend this down, and this is going to be a bigger no-fly zone off of the southwestern section of Washington, D.C. They're already starting to open it up. No-fly zones, we know that's because all those people coming in that are important dignitaries. So we know that. And down here in Orlando, off of Jacksonville coast, that's probably for space. Well, this is Cape Canaveral Air Force, National Security, Brevard County. So they have a no-fly zone down there. This is probably going to be over in Florida due to the fire, if I had to guess. So looking for any unusual no-fly zones. And they just pop up randomly, so you have to be paying attention to the map. It's kind of like looking at FlightAware to figure out what plane is going where and what. You have to pay close attention. Now, there's some interesting ones down along the border that got put up. White Sands, and it's in a straight line, so I'm going to guess since it's out of White Sands, that, well, it could be a big boomstick. And just going along there. Okay, I don't see anything too out of the ordinary. We anticipated all of this down here around Washington, D.C. And, of course, this map shows it up even more. All right, so this is showing the secondary, well, actually it's not secondary, so like third and fourth areas they're now moving in. I guess the other one hadn't updated. So pretty much all of the Chesapeake Bay region, even down off of the coast of Maryland and Virginia into the coastal waters. So they're extending that to no-fly zones. You see these blue, or maybe they're turquoise boxes. These are special use mission areas. Planes can fly in them, but they have to file all the proper paperwork, because military, instead of putting up a no-fly zone, will put up what they call a special use. And that means that at any point in time, that could pop up into a no-fly zone, that it's considered military area. You see, this goes to almost about 100 miles off the coastline down into the Gulf as well. You see that they keep those areas reserved where they have rights, higher rights. This here down off of Florida, special use area, we know that's known as Mar-a-Lago. So that's why that is there. And sometimes you'll look and see, especially like over East Tennessee where Mom's located, you'll see these special use areas pop up. And what that means is they're using a tanker to fuel jets. And the jets do not, what they call squawk, show up on radar until they're fueling. So it's kind of, these are one of the things that if you're a hobbyist, you just kind of watch and keep an eye on. So Chris says, I think this massive generals meeting is just a smokescreen to run concentrated surveillance on Andy. You know, that's an idea. I hadn't thought about that. All right, we're going to look at the marine traffic again. And remember when we last chatted before I went on my mental health break, we were talking about this whole area off of Venezuela, how it was pretty open and clear. There wasn't much traffic in it. Well, that's been changed, and you see more cargo and tanker vessels coming out of the bay or out of the Gulf into the Caribbean area. That whole area had been pretty much the military zone. You see this area, maybe unspecified ship that's probably military. It's probably military, but you see all this down here, and this whole area had been cleared out, but they're allowing the marine vessels to travel more now. And we had this coming in, breaking when I left. Let me see if I can find it. Hold on. I always have trouble with this map with all the ships on it, but they had a vessel attacked. Take that off screen. They had a vessel attacked off of the coastline of Israel. Where the heck is that? Down here. Okay, so this little area down here, they had a ship supposedly have some missiles fired upon it. You see that whole little area there? That's the area that they're worried about so much keeping open for our commerce, because apparently without that area being open to the seas, basically, that can cause problems with disrupt our service line coming out of there. And it's a real tight area. Did I pick the right place? Well, at any rate, you know what I'm talking about. We'll take it real quick and see. Whoo, look at all those balloons up. Look at that. This whole area. Look, well, we anticipated this one here over coming out of Washington, D.C. That one's not a surprise. But, wow, look at all those surveillance or weather balloons. If you're looking at my screen, you see the air quotes. Wow. The areas in blue represent the areas that they could potentially be hearing things. Just think about that. It looks like almost 90% of the country right now is under some type of balloon flight. Interesting. All right. We'll zoom over here to UK and see, well, look at that. Look at that one out of Germany. That one's a real high flyer. Does it tell us how high it is? It tells us the temperature and the frequency, but does it tell us the height? And some way it should tell us the height. Good Lord. Look at the area that thing has. That is huge. What is the height? Why is it not telling me the height? The altitude. Okay, well, at any rate, it must be pretty high to be getting that kind of signal out. So, and boom, it disappeared. How about that? Just disappeared. Maybe it landed. We'll go with that. It landed. All right. Let's see. We had a police officer line of duty death, Scott Hyman. That was yesterday. I'm not sure which department he is with. And then, of course, the last time we talked, we had the 3 police officer line of duty deaths from Pennsylvania. So that brings the number of officers killed in the line of duty this year to 67. Chris says 17 to 19 feet. It's a good estimate, Chris. Good estimate. I'll go with it. 67 line of duty deaths in police officers this year. Still too high. And anyone that wants to continue to keep calling them names and say that there's some type of bad actor inciting violence on them, well, they shouldn't be doing that. I'll leave it at that. And now this page for national firefighters isn't showing up. Usually you can see the firefighter line of duty deaths, and well, it's not working. So there you go. All right. As usual, we'll leave you with Bitdefender. And is it going to work? Is Bitdefender going to work? Is anything going to work? Am I still working? All right. Well, Bitdefender apparently is not working either. I was going to talk about this at the end of the show. Oh, there we go. It's just not drawn completely. I was going to talk about this at the end of the show anyhow, because I still get access to sometime communications. And apparently there's a very high threat to medical centers and medical facilities for cyber attacks from outside agents. I would assume that threat will increase in Virginia as well on other agencies and things. So why is that not drawing? Maybe they're having a cyber attack. But at any rate, there we go. I was warned about medical facilities coming under high rates of attack for the next 72 hours. We see most of the attacks, shockingly enough, coming out of Asia, landing in the heartland, and then going out to the rest. Red is attacks. Yellow is infections. White is that spam. Jesus, I get enough spam. So don't click on a link if you don't know who it is. Maybe I should have a whole show dedicated to that. Yeah, that wouldn't be a bad idea. Don't click on a link if you don't know what it is. And if you don't know, if you're not expecting something, if you get an invoice from your bank, go to the bank's website and check it. Don't click on the link. It's a bad idea. Bad mojo. All right, I'm gonna get out of here. Suggestions for shows. I like the idea of October doing a special fire show, talking about fire prevention and stuff like that. I might even try and even get a guest. So I like that idea. Thank you all for suggesting that. I'm still looking at doing a thing on flashlights and battery powered units. In other words, rechargers, battery. In other words, it's a stored electricity to charge your phone and keep you lit up. We're not so much worried about the hurricane season because it's going to be coming to an end soon. Hopefully we'll be good. The thunderstorm season as well. But the next one we have to be concerned about in the United States is the winter weather. And that can cause a problem, and you can lose power due to the rain and ice on the limbs, causing them to be overweighted. They're dead and they'll fall, take down power lines, stuff like that. So I'm trying to get together a show about that. If anyone's interested, just leave a comment. It really helps if you go on the show. And of course, I beg of you to hit the thumbs up button. It helps to subscribe. Go to the Sportcat shows on YouTube. I know you can find this on the Joker and Asylum page. You can find it on my personal page, but we're trying to get monetized. So come over to the Sportcat shows and subscribe. Hit that notification bell. It also helps us get into the system more if after the show you go in and post a comment. It can be a simple, hey, great show, or show sucked, your opinion, whatever. It helps get us out into the algorithm. I'm finding that YouTube is pushing me down again, and I can't explain why. I've got some ideas, but I can't explain why. So at any rate, I'm trying to fight that and get monetized. If anyone is interested, I will be trying to put together that show on flashlights, specifically small handheld, something you can carry in your pocket. I can't do a show on anything sharp and pointy, but I can point you in directions of some cool little things if you want to keep a pocket tool with you. So I can't do a show on that, but I can do a show on the flashlights. Anybody wants to support that, let me know. I usually put in the show notes the links to either my PayPal, something you can send me, or if you want to just buy me Mountain Dew, even though the doctor's telling me I can't have Mountain Dew anymore. Yeah, we didn't even go into that with my personal life, so not that anybody cared, but yeah. They're trying to take my Mountain Dews. Yeah. Brenda says, love you, Clint. I'll try to see if I can find some people to come over here. Well, Brenda, you should also wake up early enough in the day to where you come on here during the last part of the day. So Wendell says, don't go to the Big Brother show. Wendell, it's over. You're too late. You missed it. We have a winner. A winner was crowned last night. So you missed it, Wendell. And a winner we were not surprising. A winner we will love, and she will probably be considered an icon for the way she won the game. So all right, I'm going to get out of here unless anybody's got anybody else. I love my chat. If you're listening and allowing us to tickle your ears on Yerg's Radio and any of the Yerg's Radio affiliates or Radio X, Dare Talk Radio in Australia, I love you. I appreciate your support. You could really help me out a little bit more by going over to the YouTubes, finding the Sportcat shows, the channel show, and subscribing. Of course, I welcome any and all comments. You can always look in the show notes and find out how to email me, send me a voice message like speakpipe.com /sportcat. You can do that, or I put up the way of texting me if you want to text it. Yes, it is a phone number, an American number. No, you will not get an answer if you call it because it doesn't go to a real phone. So there you go. All right. Brenda says she'll join me when she feels better. Well, Brenda, you'll feel better just by being here. Everybody have a great day. Love y'all. Appreciate all your support. Thank you. Denise is a moderator in my chat. I appreciate that as well. Everybody have a great day. I will see you tomorrow. Same time, same place. And then we'll be getting ready for our Wednesday show. Great lineup on that. I'll tell you more about that later. There you go. There's a teaser. Sportcat, well, I'm getting the hell out of here.